Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again on Ashram Talks for our first class of 2026. If this is your first time visiting us, this is a space where we explore the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita with speakers from around the world. Each of them offers a really fresh and unique perspective on how we can continuously apply the wisdom of the Gita to the challenges that we face every day. Today, we're actually going to explore a really interesting topic, something that we do every day, which is eating, right? The way that we prepare food, consume food. Um, in some cultures, this is super significant, and for some of us, it might be just kind of a really quick, insignificant part of our day. But regardless of what it means to you and your family, we're going to look at how we can actually view eating as, not just kind of a physical or day-to-day practice, actually something that can contribute to our spiritual life. So we're going to be joined again by Chandramukhi from Australia. Happy New Year, Chandramukhi. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too and everybody listening. So nice to be here again.
Yeah, absolutely. You were our last class of 2025 and our first class of 2026. So we really appreciate that. And again, Chandramukhi is an educator. She's a teacher. She's a parent and a lifelong Bhakti Yoga practitioner. So we're just really excited to get to hear from you and your perspective on this verse.
Thank you very much. All right, well, I'll get started. Very interesting talk about really applying the whole concept of living our life as an offering by honing in down on something we do every day, and that is eating, which nourishes our whole body. There's that famous saying, you are what you eat. So we're going to be looking deeper at this concept and how it connects with our spirituality and how it connects with yoga, how we can make eating a yoga, and how we can actually connect with divinity through our eating and uplift our consciousness. So before I start, I'll give say a Mangala Charana, as we do, offering my obeisances to our gurus and guardians and praying for the mercy of the Lord today so that we may dive deeper and really apply this verse in our life. So first of all, I'll start. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavari Pastuchare Shatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So offering my obeisances at the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravista Om Vishnupad Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto the lotus feet of my grandfather Gurudev, Nityalila Pravista Om Vishnupad Shishimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has written all the commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita that we are studying and reading at the moment, praying for their guidance and mercy today. So this verse is a very powerful verse, and it continues the theme that we've been talking about in this chapter. And last week we spoke in detail about yajna and how we can make our life like an offering to God. And this verse then takes it, kind of hones in on a very specific part of our life that we can make into an offering in a very practical way, and that is how we eat every day. So we'll go to the verse and we will read that. So it's Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 verse 13. Yagya shishta shina santo muchyante sarva kilbishai bunjate te tvagam papa ye panchatyat makaranat. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So we're going to unpack this verse and look at the different parts of what Krishna is saying here, and the very, very practical things for us in our daily life to bring about happiness on a cellular level, because whatever we eat goes into our body, goes into our cells, and actually forms the consciousness of it contributes to our emotional well-being, contributes to our physical well-being, contributes to our mental well-being. So whatever we eat is so important, and it's also about how we eat, what mood we eat in, can really affect us. So how can we eat consciously every day, be present with our food, and move forward in our life. Actually, eating, if we don't eat, we die, right? Like you can't live without eating. So if we eat in a way that is spiritually nourishing, then our consciousness is automatically going to be supported to be able to be connected with divinity at every moment and live our life as an offering. So in a sense, it can all start with eating, because obviously there's so many other things we do in our daily life that contribute to helping us connect with divinity in every moment. But eating is like our support. Whatever food we eat nourishes our body, and then it's like our support. And if we eat spiritual food, then that spiritual food will nourish all the cells in our body. And over time, like I think it's every 7 years, or maybe it's every 12 years, all the cells in your body change. And it's like you go through a whole change. So if you're eating food that is spiritually nourishing, over time, it just kind of transforms your whole body. So in this verse, he's discussing, he says, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first in sacrifice. So as we know, everything we do has a reaction, and it can be a reaction that creates negative results, or a reaction that creates positive results in our life. And this is connected with our thoughts, it's connected with our desires, and then how we act based on those thoughts and desires. And when we're giving pain and causing harmful actions to others, then we'll get that ourselves. And when we doing good to others, then positive actions and enjoyment comes back to us, as we've discussed many times as we've been going through these chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So the same is for in regards to the food we eat. Now, in this verse, it mentions the word sin. So those who offer their food in sacrifice, offering their food to God, then actually offering your food to God releases one of all kind of sinful reactions. Now, sin, the word sin in Sanskrit is different to the word in English. And in English, the connotation of the word sin can be very much connected to previous different concepts of, like breaking a divine commandment, or displeasing God, that kind of thing. And in the Vedas, the word is papa. There's actually several words, because in this verse there's actually several Sanskrit words that are used, but one of the main ones is papa, or it's translated as a sin, but it refers to things like basically harmful, inauspicious, morally bad behavior that actually brings about a negative result in your life. So it creates karma that leads to negative results. So it's basically doing harm to others, and then that results in negative results for us in our life. So that's what when he's saying sin, it's not necessarily saying, it doesn't have the same connotations as it does in Western thought. It's specifically honed in on harmful actions that cause pain to others and bring results. Whereas the opposite to that is punya in Sanskrit, which is actions that bring merit or positive reaction in our life, good results in our life. So just establishing that, because it's important to understand that in this context, it's talking about freeing us from the reactions, negative reactions that can come to us, all kinds of pain that's coming to us, all mental disturbances are coming from past papa or past actions that are involved in harming others. And we can do that unconsciously or consciously. And to the degree we experience the pain, it's to the degree we've given that pain out to others. And it's the universal justice system. But as we've been understanding, and the Krishna is teaching us how to become free from this action and reaction, the cycle of birth and death, from just focus, getting the reactions and the good and bad reactions of our karma, and actually rising up above this and realizing we are beyond this. We are pure spiritual beings, and we don't have to be caught up in this forever. We can actually rise above it in this life, and then come out of this world of birth and death and attain our real spiritual nature and loving relationship with God forever. So in regards to eating then, so when we're eating, we're obviously going to be cooking, right? We're going to be shopping. We're going to be spending time making the food, and then we partake in what we've cooked. So when we actually cooking just for ourselves, we're absorbed in what we want to taste. It's very much around indulgence, sense pleasure. It actually reinforces disconnection from God. It keeps us bound in the cycle of dissatisfaction, where we're hankering. It's actually known in the Gita, it's described as the mode of passion, or trying to always satisfy our own selves and senses. It's like an attitude of exploiting for ourselves that goes through our food, or it can be overindulgence. Then we're hankering for this food or that food, and we can become we can overeat, which makes us sick. So conscious eating is all about finding that balance and seeing where is the source of this food, and going beyond just personal pleasure and becoming aware of divinity around us, and moving beyond self-centered action, so that we can, because whenever we act in a self-centered way, then we're implicated in the reaction. But when we act in a way that is pleasing for God, then we're coming in the process of rising above all the actions and reactions in this world. So when we actually cooking our food, we can actually offer that food to God first. It actually builds your relationship with God to do that. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita later on in chapter 9, he says a very beautiful verse. He says, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. So when we're cooking, we can have a mood that, well, everything that I'm cooking, all the ingredients, the vegetables, the rice, different things, they've all been provided by God. They've been provided by Krishna. I have not made any of these things. Even if we're growing all our vegetables, the seeds have been provided by by Mother Nature, by the universal order. And so when we can be grateful that, oh, actually all of this is coming, and none of this is mine, I'm very blessed to have this. And this is the first thing. And many people, Christians especially, before they eat, they start offering that. Sorry, they have that gratitude that, oh yes, thank you, Lord, for our meal. And this the Gita is taking that whole concept just a little bit deeper, and actually quite a lot deeper, because it's all about not just being grateful, but then taking that food and offering it back to the universe, to the source, the creator of everything, to that supreme person who's created it. But it's when we eat, it also can foster good relationships. Like they say, a family that eats together stays together. So when we're eating with others, and it kind of builds your relationship. And so eating can also build our relationship with God. It helps us recognize that he's right with us. He's our very best friend. and he's our protector, he's our maintainer. And so we can offer our food to him. Say, here, Krishna, you please take this before I do. I'm offering it to you. And I mean, if you even like a child, like when I have a young child who's 6, and she makes me gifts all the time. If she's drawing a picture, she wants to give it to me. And I'm sure many of you have that experience. So we're like God's children. And he, in one sense, he doesn't need anything because he is the Supreme Lord. He's the source of everything. He's self-satisfied. But just like us, he needs love. And offering food to him, we can actually show our love by offering our food, just like a young child is offering a drawing or something they've made to give us. So we're God's children. We can offer, here, my dear Lord, you're my best friend. I'm offering my food to you in a loving way. And that love is what he accepts. And even before, we may not feel much love yet, but we may feel faith. And actually faith is the very beginning of love developing. First, just acknowledging that there is a higher presence in my life, and their higher intelligence guiding me and looking after me and protecting me. And so how can I reciprocate with that and offer back? And as we were speaking about in our last class about yajna, that is actually the whole universal system, is that when we offer back, when we take things with gratitude, take food with gratitude, take anything that we're given with gratitude, and then offer it back, then it's freeing us from sinful reactions or negative reactions or actions that we've done in the past. It also frees us from the entanglement of the good reactions, but it actually helps us build our spiritual bank account to bring us towards Krishna, bring us towards God. So by offering the food, it says that Krishna actually takes the food, he eats it, and then what he gives back, what is actually known as prasadam, or the mercy of the Lord. And that food has become spiritualized. Now, an example you can think of is when you put iron in fire. When you put iron in fire, like if you had a horseshoe, for example, and they put it in the fire to kind of change the shape and make sure it's all the right shape and everything. Now that particular iron becomes like the fire. It gets so hot, if it's put on anything, it will burn it. So it's become identical with the fire. So food in itself is a material substance. The vegetables, the spices, the whatever you're using, the grains. But when we actually offer it to Krishna first before we eat, Krishna, who is very kind and loving and our nearest and dearest friend, he actually takes that. It says he can eat with his eyes, he can eat with his feet, all the functions. There's a beautiful verse, Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti, that any actions of one of his senses he can perform with other senses, because he is the supreme unlimited person. So when he can actually eat with his eyes, he can eat with his feet. So he will take that offering, and then after we've offered it, actually becomes prasadam, or his mercy. It actually becomes non-different from Krishna. It becomes spiritualized, just like the iron becomes like fire. So the food becomes transformed, and this takes the whole concept of eating to a very deep level, because then that food, when you eat it, it purifies your heart and purifies your whole body and mind. And when we eat food that's been offered, so that's why this verse, Krishna is saying this directly. He's saying in this verse, the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. So it frees one from sins, from sinful reactions. It completely spiritualizes your whole body over time. Like as we were saying, over time the whole cells of your body change. So when they're supported by taking spiritual food that's offered first to Krishna, it becomes non-different to Krishna. It actually purifies and transforms our whole being. There's in verse 11 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, just a few verses back in the purport, our Srila Prabhupada, who was commentating on this this chapter, on these verses. He says that by performance of yagya, or sacrifice, by offering, all activities become purified and one's edibles become sanctified. And then he says that by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. And then by the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified. And when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. So it's influencing us on a very deep level. And I'm sure we've all had the experience when we've eaten some bad food, and we've had to, we might have had food poisoning, or, there's, then you feel it, right? You don't just feel it in your body, you feel it in your mind, and you feel awful and you feel terrible. It takes some little time to work through. You might take some medicine and then you get better. So whatever we eat really is very, very powerful. So if we're eating foods all the time that are based on our own personal sense enjoyment, and we're eating foodstuffs that are opposite to the, just involved in material consciousness, then our whole body becomes, it just become like stuck in that material consciousness of thinking that we're the body, we're hankering, we're lamenting, we're very, very easily disturbed. If anyone says anything against us, we get angry, or that very much caught up in the modes of action and reaction. But when we actually eat sanctified foods, then he's saying our existence, our whole body becomes purified. The finer tissues of our body, finer tissues of our brain become purified. Our memory becomes sanctified. So our whole mood is uplifted. And then he's saying when memory is sanctified, then one can think of the path of liberation. So we can actually then think and contemplate and search for something higher than just this material world of birth and death. And then when this all combines together, it leads to Krishna consciousness, or divine consciousness of our relationship with God. And so it supports us, eating this spiritualized food supports us in every level, throughout our whole body, supports our mind to actually be situated in God consciousness, which actually brings about the real happiness in our heart and that of everybody. So this is a whole science of eating that's taught in the Vedic literatures, and Krishna's honing in specifically on that here. And there's another thing to understand also, is that when we offer things to Krishna, he's a person, right? We're all people. We all like certain things. So Krishna likes certain food, and you might think somebody you love, and that they really like pizza, or they really like a specific dish from the Middle East or whatever. And so when you want to make them happy, you'll make that, and then they'll be really happy. So Krishna is very pleased, and so when we please Krishna, then the whole universe becomes pleased, and we also become joyful. And so Krishna, he says, like in that verse we just mentioned, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf of flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. So Krishna accepts those foods out in their own mode of goodness. There's many different types of foods, and those foods that are in the mode of goodness, or sattva, they promote peace. Now there's going to be many chapters that are devoted to speaking about these modes later on, so we're not going to go into them right now. But the sattva gun, or basically anything in this world, things in this life, what we eat, what we do, that bring about peace. There's other foods that are in the mode of passion, or rajagun, and those foods that are in the mode of ignorance, or tamagun. So foods that are in the mode of goodness include milk, vegetables, nuts, grains, vegetarian foods that are, and so that's only what Krishna accepts. So if we offer those types of foods in the mode of goodness, then God will accept them. If we offer him foods that are in the mode of passion and ignorance, he won't accept them, because they're not actually meant for the welfare and the spiritual welfare human beings, really. They entangle one in the cycle of birth and death too. So foods that are not vegetarian, including meat, fish, eggs, they actually bring the consciousness down. This is a yoga diet, because a yoga diet is about connecting with God. Yoga means union, or linking with God. So the yoga diet, the diet that uplifts the consciousness, is a vegetarian, pure vegetarian diet, without meat, without fish, without eggs, and Krishna won't accept those. And there's so much violence that is involved in the killing of other animals for one's food. That's causing so much pain to others. And then also in the same category, especially particularly in mode of passion and ignorance and passion, is also garlic, onions, and mushrooms. They're included, not with the same reactions, but with the same mood. They have a similar mood that brings our consciousness down. And so the foods that actually bring the consciousness up are modes of goodness food, vegetarian food, and then not just vegetarian, but sometimes we say Krishnatarian, because vegetarian, unfortunately, there is still some reactions that can be had by killing vegetables. So it's more minimal. It's a lot less than killing animals, but there's still some pain that those other living entities experience when we're chopping them. Actually, it's described in the Vedic literatures that in the kitchen, there's 5 types of objects that actually inflict violence upon other living entities. That's the cooking fire, which is like a stove in these days. This is traditional India, where they're using a lot of without the electricity, right? So the cooking fire, but in our sense, we can say the stove. The grinding instrument, well, we could also say the blender or the NutriBullet. The mortar and pestle, that's similar. The water pot, which for us would be our source of water, or if water's left there that we're using, and the broom, and in our sense it could be the vacuum cleaner. So these different objects are actually, without even us knowing, they're we are giving violence to other living entities. Even when we breathe, there's violence given to other living entities. So that's where the whole process of sacrifice, of bringing our life into making our life an offering to God, and then starting off with this eating, offering our food to God, purifies ones of all those different unintended violence upon other living entities. So the path of devotion to God, the path of bhakti yoga, that is ultimately described in this Bhagavad Gita, is such a powerful path that purifies us of our sinful reactions, any unintentional or intentional violence that we've caused to other living entities, and brings us up out of that, so we can go forward in a very confident, happy way to become free from all these things and live in joy and happiness throughout our life. So going beyond vegetarianism is Krishnatarianism. And that doesn't mean we eat Krishna, like vegetables, we're eating vegetables, but it's meaning offering. Our food becomes an offering to Krishna, and every day. And that can start with our shopping. The whole mood surrounding the cooking is also very important, and it's all about being conscious and present. So this is looking at some practical tips to finish off now. We could start this just once a week. Try it out, then bring it into once a day, and then try to do it for every meal. Work towards that. And so when we're shopping, we can think, okay, so what am I going to shop for Krishna? What am I going to buy? Let's make the choice to buy those foods that are nourishing, they're in the mode of goodness to start with, that are vegetarian type foodstuffs that I can offer to Krishna. So let's start with that, and then having a mood when we're going shopping, rather than always meditating, I'm going to get that delicious thing for myself. I'm going to get those prawns, or those those potatoes to make the chips that like whatever it is, rather than just meditating on ourselves, transforming that to, let's see how I can serve. And it's in service, it's in selflessness, rather than just thinking of ourselves, That's actually where happiness lies. When we're always thinking of ourselves and what we want, then actually we end up always disturbed and hankering, lamenting, and just in this mood of dissatisfaction, because actually your senses can never be satisfied. Only the soul can be satisfied. So when we're going shopping, we can shop for Krishna. We can think that actually Krishna is the Lord of our household. He is my protector. He is my friend, my everything. So I'm going to shopping for his household, for his our family members are his. We are his. Our daughters, our children, our partners, our family members, whoever we're living with, they belong to Krishna. They're not mine. We think they're mine, but they're only that my daughter or my son, or for a certain amount of time, and then next life we have a different set of family members. But every one of us is part and parcel of God. So we can shop and think, well, I'm going to buy this food for my Lord Shri Krishna's and the Supreme Goddess Shri Radha, for their household. And how am I going to prepare that food for Krishna with love and devotion? So the next step is, when we're cooking, we can try and practice this as well when we're at home. Where is my consciousness? Become present while we're cooking, and make it a meditation, a contemplation. So it may be things like, well, all this food has come from Krishna. Where has it grown? I have not created it. It's actually he's made it available for all in this world to be able to thrive and live. And how we meditate, we can even pour our love into the food, meditate on love going into our food. Or, and if we not feeling love, we can just having faith while we're thinking at the presence of the Lord within our life. He's right there with me as I'm cutting this food. We can chant. When we chant while we're cooking, chant the names of God while we're cooking. Those names are also transcendental, that spiritualize our being with sound vibration. It can also spiritualize our food. So our consciousness really affects our food. And when we eat food by those who are in the consciousness of material enjoyment and always wanting to satisfy their sensual indulgence, then all of that consciousness goes in the food. There's a movie I saw once many years ago. It's called Like Water for Chocolate. And in the movie, I can't remember the situation, but the people who were cooking, they were grieving over something. It may have been, there was a wedding on, and perhaps it was to do with the wedding or the people getting married. I'm not sure. I can't remember the storyline. It was so long ago. But I remember that while they were cooking, they were so sad. And all that sadness went into the cooking. And so when the wedding banquet came and everyone was eating, they all started crying. And it was supposed to be a happy event. So it was just illustrating that point, that whatever moods, if we're angry while we're cooking, if we're sad while we're cooking, it's all going to go into the food. And so if we're trying to be in a loving, happy space of mind while we're cooking, and then offer that food to Krishna before we eat, to God before we eat, then everything, it just all becomes purified and happy food. and then when we eat it as well, we can also be very conscious while we're eating, rather than letting our mind go here and there and thinking about all kinds of things. Actually make our eating a meditation. Oh, this food is prasad. It's been offered to the Lord. It's none different from him. And he's very kind and he's so loving. He's given this food, and this food is actually transformed into love, just like him. And then slowly that transforms our consciousness over time. So it's a very beautiful process. And then just another thing, I know I don't want to go over my time, but there's a scientist, or I'm not sure if he's a scientist or a doctor. Anyway, Dr. Masaru Emoto from Japan. He did a lot of research on the hidden messages in water. And many of you would have seen it, how he tried all these different experiments of words. So he put if it was a violent word like "I'll kill you," and he said that to the one jar of water, and to another jar of water he said, "Oh, I love you." And then he looked at the different particles of the water under a microscope, and the ones that were very bad, like "I'll kill you," the water particle was like all over the place. It looked very disturbed. Whereas in the one of "I love you," there was a beautiful little crystal-like shape. So it just shows the effect of our thoughts and our sound vibration on the world around us. And that's only studying in water. What to speak of how it also affects food and even just the atmosphere around us. So, looking back at that verse, then he's saying that at the end, others who so the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So when we only doing it for sense enjoyment, we're not making a food or offering, then we're implicated in all the reactions of giving that violence to other living entities. And as it says, we're only eating sin, only eating pap, or that which causes negative results to us in the future from harming other living entities. So there you go. So that's the beauty. There's so much more to discuss actually in this eating process, but that's an introduction, and it just shows us how conscious eating, can uplift our awareness. It can nourish our whole body, both materially, physically, and spiritually. It can bring the life airs into balance rather than being disturbed. And peace will grow every day as we align our life and our eating with the higher will. And so what we eat can change our life. It can change how we live and bring our consciousness into a very high, beautiful, peaceful state, full of joy. So I'll finish there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chandramukhi, for everything that you shared today. I think we hear a lot in different like spiritual practices or in different religions that there may be some type of rules or norms around what we're eating, right? Like what type of, I hear people say, oh, in my religion, we don't eat this or we don't eat that. But what you describe sounds so much more profound and complete, right? Like thoughts about how certain foods might impact us internally, right? And how are we impacting other living entities, even in the process of preparing food? I think it's so intricate, and there's so many details that you touched on there.
Yeah, it is. It's really amazing how our consciousness affects our life, and when we bring that into eating and all the different nuances that we can, include in our eating. It's every day. We do it 3 times a day, and it's so important. And when we do that,
Yeah.
our whole consciousness can be uplifted. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think you touched on, like some really great ways that we can try to utilize that as an opportunity, like you said, to build our spiritual bank account, hopefully a little bit. And then another really important thing that I just wanted to touch on briefly, you said, I love how you framed, the word sin in kind of more of an Eastern context, right? Or more of a I don't know, Vaishnav context, right? I think just as Westerners, we always associate the word sin with this Judeo-Christian concept, and it can be a big turnoff for people. But I love that you kind of frame sin as just, something that might cause harm or, violence to others and bring about a negative reaction, right? So that's really refreshing to hear.
And then it's your choice then, right? Makes it's very empowering then. Well, I've got a choice to act in a way that's going to cause harm or cause good.
I love that. Yeah, I love kind of that agency there, right? Like we have the freedom to act, but we also have to take responsibility for those consequences, right? Or those reactions, whatever they may be. That's awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. We also have a very nice comment from Colleen. She said, thank you. We'll try this meditation with chanting. Always lots to assimilate. Thank you, Chandramukhi and Sienna. Thank you, Colleen, for joining us, and to everyone who joined us today, and Chandramukhi for joining us for our first discussion of this year.
Thank you, and Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. You're going to be traveling to India, correct? We're super excited for that. That's going to be amazing. And we look forward to kind of learning from all of your experiences, your insights, and your realizations when you come back.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Chandramukhi, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
You too.
Chandramukhi, I'll just keep you on as I say goodbye today. We wanted to mention that these classes are now also available on Spotify, the first 32 discussions. So if you missed them or something I've been doing, just going back and kind of listening to everything from the beginning, it really helps to contextualize everything that we're talking about. So yeah, if you want to take these classes with you anywhere you go, they're now available on Spotify. You can just search Journey Through the Bhagavad Gita. Great. And we look forward to seeing everybody soon. Thanks for joining us again.